I'm Ted Meyer, and I am with,
Patter Hellstrom.
and we're in front of the Hoffman Research Building at the Keck School of Medicine of USC because you have this amazing art exhibit here. So we're going to go inside and look at it and talk about it. Most of the work that I show at Keck is by patient artists, but yours is different because your husband had cancer and he died from it. So this project is sort of your answer as a caregiver, and it speaks to all the new information you learned about cancer.
When Paul, my partner, was diagnosed, I needed to understand what this meant. I needed to understand what cancer does and what it looks like and how it worked. So I began by doing a lot of drawing to visualize that for myself, and did that throughout the process of his cancer journey. When he died, I then started to use my own visualization to heal myself.
You're using his physical illness as sort of a kickoff for like depression, whatever you needed to heal. So what were you healing?
Well, I was healing very, very physical things like bereavement. In bereavement, your cells don't work properly, and your blood work is wonky. Mm-hmm. And even my teeth I had to have braces because all of these things are part of how trauma lives in our body. And I used my creative expression through this project to claim my agency in healing.
So let's talk about this project. How many pieces?
It's 84 panels.
And how big?
It's 22 feet long and 5 feet tall in this space. Yeah.
Okay, so these ones right behind you here, why don't you tell us what we're seeing? Because they're, as just abstracts, they're beautiful, but what are they telling us? What do the colors represent? What's going on?
Well, the work reads from right to left, and it begins being very tightly compacted and monochromatic, kind of looking at the beginning of my healing process and really thinking about that knowledge that I was shocked by, is that my cells didn't work properly. And then as I worked through over time, because I created this over 70 days, as I worked over time, I began to embrace more color and see an interrelationship between the artworks, between the individual panels, as well as the colors. So it begins to bloom essentially from the right to the left. I want to talk about this little section and some of the connections that are being made from panel to panel. Not necessarily intentional, but when they're put together, you start to see the relationship. You start to see one line move into the next panel. You start to see a color move from the green moves in to the green, to the pink, to the purple. You start to see these clusters of cells move through a panel and then move down and rocket off into another direction.
So this panel that's right in front of you, it's happy, it's pink, but we're looking at cancer, which is something that's killing people. So on one hand, it's sort of cheerful colors and nice lines and patterning, but it's also kind of deadly. And maybe you could talk about the dichotomy of what's going on in your husband's body at the same time as you're drawing this sort of cheery, this pattern. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way to depict his death.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about this feeling pretty and uplifting and energetic, but I'd love to show you the progression. If we move back here, this is where I began with these monochromatic, tightly held cell clusters as I was initially thinking about moving through the cancer experience with my partner.
So these are his cells.
This is the beginning with his cells, thinking about what cancer did. Because cancer is really an adolescent cell group that is just out of control, that's tightly held and abnormal. And from that monochromatic abnormalcy that we see here, I begin to move through the sequencing until the cells start opening up, inviting color, inviting relationships between one panel and another, and the actual healing starts to become evident.
And then at this end, these are more about you.
And we keep moving. These are all about me. These are about my experience of really claiming agency in my own healing through complicated grief.
So this is really a timeline of an entire cancer journey of your husband's, the end of your relationship, and you moving on in a way.
So it is a timeline moving toward my own healing and my own growth.
So what do you think your husband would think about after his death, you using that as your motivation for a piece like this?
I think Paul would be very proud to see that I took that journey, I took that experience and found my way through it. Because that was, as we got closer to the end, I mean, honestly, cancer is so sneaky that you never know what's going to happen, if you're going to have a recovery or not. But when it became clear that within the next 12 hours he was going to die, he was very insistent that I needed to live. I am so grateful to USC Keck for, one, the placement of this work, which is very visible from the quad, and then close up within the Hoffman Research building. I feel very strongly that this work has its own work to do outside of me, that this work welcomes others to think about their own agency in their healing. And with medical students and doctors, I'm very interested that they have the opportunity to read my statement, because it talks about the importance of the creative energy as a healing modality. And I think sometimes we get siloed, either in our academic studies, or in many other ways in life. And I think this breaks that open to some extent, to think about how can art play a role, how can music play a role, how do other modalities come in and really support healing.